Hey friend, if you're interested in how the Sony A7 IV does shooting in low light conditions, specifically high school basketball, well, this is the place to be. Because I take the Sony A7 IV to 5 different basketball games, 2 different gymnasiums under different conditions, and I've got photos for you coming up. Before I show you guys some photos, just know this video is not about diving deep into the tech and the specs of this camera. There are plenty of videos out there that do that better than I would be able to do. A couple things I do want to point out with the specs. Number one, this is a full frame 33 megapixel camera. So if you do need to crop in a little bit, you've got some room to work without losing quality in the image. And also the big one here is this camera has the same focusing system as Sony's flagship camera, the Alpha 1. Now the A1 is $6,500. This camera, $2,500, same focusing system. I'm going to start by showing you 5 images. Now these images are ISO comparison images. All the other settings are exactly the same. The only thing I changed is the ISO. We're going to start low, then we're going to work our way up to about 65,000. We're going to start on a lower ISO of 1250. Now some of these images have been edited just a little bit by me, some post-processing, and they were all taken in the same gym. So this is 1250. And it's looking really good. Now we jump up to 3200. Still looking good, which you would expect from this type of camera, full frame. ISO 4000, still great image. Even at 8000, still a very usable image. 12,800, you can still use this image. It looks great. Now, 65,535, the image falls apart. This is one you would definitely delete. So all the images, as expected in the lower ISOs, are looking really good. Get up to really high ISO like this, you're not going to be able to use the image. Some of you may not know the difference between a full frame and a crop sensor. Well, the basics are this. Full frame will give you a broader dynamic range, as well as better performance in high ISO, low light situations, which will result in a higher quality image as compared to a crop sensor. And with that, we're going to move on to 2 more images. This is a visual comparison between a crop sensor and a full frame camera. On the left side, we have the Sony A7 IV. On the right side, the Sony A6100. The A6100 is a crop sensor camera. These images were both taken in the same gym, same settings. You have an ISO of 5000, shutter speed of 1/1000th of a second, and the aperture was 2.8. I did do some post-processing, a little bit of cropping, and the big thing to notice here is when you zoom in, you can see the difference in the noise on the A6100 as compared to the Sony A7 IV. Now I did add some noise reduction to the A6100, so it would actually be worse than that. Now let's get to the good stuff. We get to see what this camera can do in a real world situation. 2 different gymnasiums. Here's a handful of photos for you guys to take a look at. Here's the first gym I shot in, and you can see the lighting looks pretty good. Now I shot this with my phone, so it brightened up the video a little more than the gym actually is, so it's about a stop and a half darker. Now these first 2 images have a little bit of story. When they're doing the player introductions, they shut off the lights completely and put a spotlight on. Now the interesting thing was I was standing next to the local newspaper reporter who had his camera ready to go and start taking some images of the player introductions. As soon as they shut off the lights and put the spotlight on, he had to put his camera down because he knew he couldn't handle the low light conditions. Now the Sony A7 IV worked like a champ. The photos you're seeing were all shot with the same settings. You got a shutter of 1/1000th of a second, ISO 5000, aperture 2.8. I also was using autofocus continuous high with expandable tracking set for medium, and I also had auto eye focus on. Another thing to note here is I only shot JPEGs, no RAW files. I want to see how well this camera could do straight out of the camera JPEGs that could use maybe just a little bit of post-production, because by now I think you know that my goal is to get these images out as fast as possible, whether that's to the local newspaper or if it's to other social media platforms. Also note, I did use the Tamron 70-180 lens for all of these images. Here's the second gym. As you can see, it's a little bit brighter than the first one, about a stop brighter. But the problem with this gym is the flooring. The flooring is yellow, which messes with the skin tones of the players. As mentioned, I shot 5 basketball games, took about 500 photos per game, so each set was about 1,000 images, both boys and girls back to back. I had about 32 gigabytes of my 64 gigabyte memory card left. About 25 to 35% of the battery was remaining. I shot only JPEGs. So the question is, who is this camera for? Well, if you are a hybrid shooter, such as myself, I shoot both video as well as photos, this is a great camera for you. You can expect great performance on both the photo side as well as the video side. If you already shoot with the Sony system, and say you're shooting crop sensors, the A6000 series, this would be a great jump for you into the full frame category, and you would not regret it. However, if you already shoot Canon or Nikon, and you've got a lot of money into those systems, stick with it. I don't think this is a good enough camera for you to make the jump over to Sony. Now, if you're kind of on the lower end of the Canons or Nikons, and you're still not all the way invested into it, you might want to think about it. But I don't see a reason to really make the full jump if you have a lot of money spent in either one of those systems. There is one interesting little thing I want to tell you about, and that is using the auto eye focusing system. It's only happened 3 different times. When I was shooting a jump shooter, say across the court on the 3-point line, as he went up, the autofocusing system, the eye autofocusing system, snapped to the eye immediately. But as the flare went up, the little square would move. It would jump down to the shoulder, then it jumped down to the elbow. So as he's releasing the ball, it was on the elbow. Not sure what the cause of the problem was. I've reached out to Sony, see if they can give me some answers, and I will keep my eye on it and update you guys on everything that's going on with this camera, as well as that autofocusing system. So everybody, don't forget, grab your cameras, find an event that you can shoot, and if you get a chance, try and mentor somebody and teach them what you know about sports photography, and tell them also to get out and shoot.